You can hit every goal, check every box, and still end up lying in bed at night with that quiet thought, it's not enough. Why does that voice never shut off? Why does it keep finding new evidence no matter how much you accomplish? That's what we're going to get into today. This conversation is about that constant sense of falling short, where it actually comes from and how to stop reinforcing it. Because here's the truth, unworthiness isn't built into you, it's practiced. And once you see the mechanics, you can retrain them, not by fighting your thoughts, not by trying to fix yourself, but by understanding how the nervous system works and choosing what you want to practice instead. Here's the thing, that voice in your head, it isn't you, it's a recording, a collection of old tapes from moments where you stumbled or missed the mark. Think back. Maybe you froze in a classroom when you knew the answer but couldn't get it out. Maybe you were laughed at when you tried something new. Maybe you worked hard on a project and it wasn't recognized. Those moments carried emotional intensity, and your nervous system did what it always does. It remembered. Now, years later, that same voice still says, "See, you're not enough." But it's not telling the truth. It's just pulling an old tape off the shelf and hitting play. The mistake isn't that you hear it, the mistake is believing it's reality. Think of training at the gym. If you repeat a lift with enough weight, the muscle adapts. You're not just moving weight, you're teaching the body what to expect. Your inner world works the same way. Every time you listen to that voice and agree with it, you're not just having a thought, you're taking a rep in an emotional gym. Perception comes first. You see the situation through the lens of the old tape. That perception triggers the emotion, shame, doubt, anxiety. The emotion shapes the thought, "I'll never get this right." And the thought dictates the action. You pull back, hesitate, quit early. That loop is what keeps the voice alive. Not because it's accurate, but because it's practiced. One person I worked with kept repeating, "I'm not leadership material." Not because they weren't capable, but because years of self-doubt had built a nervous system fluent in collapse. Their mistake wasn't lack of skill, it was unintentional training. Every human being misses the mark sometimes. That's not a flaw, it's how growth works. But here's where most of us trip up. We confuse the event with identity. It's not, "I failed that exam," it becomes, "I'm a failure." It's not, "that relationship ended," it becomes, "I must be unlovable." It's not, "I dropped the ball once," it becomes, "I can't be trusted." The nervous system doesn't just record the event, it records the meaning you attached to it. And the meaning gets replayed again and again. Someone I knew had one painful breakup. Instead of seeing it as one relationship that didn't work, they rehearsed the story, "I'm destined to end up alone." It wasn't true, but the nervous system doesn't check for truth. It just reinforces whatever is repeated. So this is key. When you replay old tapes, you're not training accuracy. You're training emotional states. Someone I worked with replayed one awkward meeting for years. Every time they thought about it, their shoulders dropped, their stomach knotted, their mind whispers, "You're not cut out for this." What were they really practicing? Not professional skills. They were practicing collapse. Their nervous system became fluent in collapse. So when new challenges came, collapse showed up automatically. That's the power of repetition. It's not truth, it's just training. So here's the reframe. You're not defined by your mistakes. You're defined by how you grow from them. Growth has its own loop. Perception, that didn't go as planned, but it's just one rep. Emotion, steadiness, curiosity, sometimes even enthusiasm. Thought, "I can use this." Action, adjust, refine, move forward. Each pass through that loop strengthens resilience, and resilience becomes your baseline. So the real question isn't, did I mess up? It's, what emotional state did I just train? If this is landing, hit subscribe. I drop new videos each week to help you train your inner world with clarity and structure. So how do you shift? It starts with recognition, noticing this isn't truth, it's replay, and then making a conscious choice. Do I want to strengthen unworthiness? Or do I want to redirect into steadiness, curiosity, or commitment? At first, it will feel awkward. The old tape is stronger, but every redirection is a rep, and reps change wiring. Take one example. Someone I know used to panic every time they opened their email. Why? Because years earlier, they'd been scolded publicly over a mistake they missed. So the tape became, every message is bad news. I'm always about to fail. Each time they opened their inbox, anxiety flooded in. That was the state being trained. We built a new loop. Perception, this is just information, not judgment. Emotion, steadiness, curiosity. Thought, what's here for me to handle today? Action, open, read, respond calmly. At first, they had to force it. It didn't feel natural. But after real reps, their system began to default to calm instead of panic. That's training. If you're hearing this and thinking, this sounds like me, I want you to remember something important. You're not broken. You've just been training a pattern that no longer serves, and that can change. Your nervous system is plastic. It rewires with practice. It responds to repetition. So the question becomes, what state are you unconsciously rehearsing right now? And is it aligned with the person you're committed to becoming? When the inner critic shows up, you don't need to argue with it. You don't need to prove it wrong. You just need to name it. That's the old tape. And then choose, today I act from steadiness. That might mean speaking up in the meeting anyway. It might mean finishing the workout when you feel like quitting. It might mean showing up in the conversation instead of pulling back. Each redirect is a rep. Each rep is a vote for a new baseline. Over time, the redirect becomes automatic and the critic fades into background noise. So let's go deeper. You're not just training emotions, you're training identity. If you keep rehearsing, I'm not enough, that state fuses with who you believe you are. But identity is also a pattern. Each time you act from steadiness, curiosity, or commitment, you reinforce, this is who I am. Identity isn't formed in one leap. It's built through hundreds of small reps. And every time the critic shows up, you're given another chance to reinforce the identity you actually want. So let's talk about intensity. The more charge behind a state, the faster it wires. That's why painful memories stick. They carried high intensity. But you can harness intensity in your favor. When you redirect into steadiness or enthusiasm, don't just think it, feel it, breathe into it, stand differently, speak differently. The nervous system records that intensity, and those reps accelerate the shift. Not just a thought anymore, an embodied state. This isn't a one-time fix. It's a discipline, like lifting weights, like running, like playing piano or practicing martial arts. You don't get strong from one workout. You don't master a skill in one practice. You get strong by showing up rep after rep. Training your inner world is no different. Each redirect is a rep. Reps build the baseline. The baseline shapes your life. So here's the reflection I'd invite you to carry into your day. What emotional state are you practicing over and over without realizing it? And is that the state you actually want to live from? If you're ready to stop managing symptoms and start training a steady, resilient inner state, I've built a system for that. It integrates perception, emotion, and nervous system, so you don't just understand your patterns, you actually shift them. The link's below. I also share practices weekly on Instagram at Mike Wang Coaching. And if you want more depth, you can join the newsletter below. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next video.